you know, when she did mention not wanting to date a man with kids, I've heard this before. There was a girl on TikTok, and if you're on TikTok, I'm not on TikTok now, but this was a while ago. If you're on TikTok, you may have seen her because she ended up describing an experience with a man she really, really liked. Like, they had like a magical experience, first date, whatever. And then she found out he had a kid. And she was heartbroken, you know? I've been there where it's like the potential of what you thought could happen or you know, the possibilities were just snuffed out like very early. You know, maybe for other reasons they're not a good match, but I do halfway challenge women who are of a particular age who do not want to partner with a man with kids. You know, I logically get it, but in reality, with the statistics, with how many good men there are out there who are divorced or, you know, had one kid when they were really young or had one kid and then found out their whole world was turned upside down by the woman. I just think there are really, really, really good men. But I think specifically Dr. Cheyenne is speaking on her fears, because then you say, I don't want, right? I don't, like, this is such a deal breaker. I think it highlights something in you. In my dating, I had very like few, how you call it, like materialistic, not that kids are materialistic, but very few tangible deal breakers. Like, I would never say I'm never dating a man with kids, right? I would never, right? Because that, the energy of that, even if you say I'm never dating a man with kids, no, I'm never dating a man with kids, there's an energy there that I don't feel is aligned with love. I think there's a similar energy when a woman says something like, the man I'm with has to make $100,000. Similar to the man I am with has to have a bachelor's degree, right? I personally would never say those things because I'm an energy person and the feeling of a thing is more important than the actual part of a thing. I think there's a man without a bachelor's degree, a man with 1 or 2 kids, a man who's making less than $100,000 who could be a really, really, really great man and a great person, right? Same thing with height. I have to date a man who's 6'5", right? All of these like requirements that are not like real or based in any substance. They're just arbitrary things that you picked. When I think you're trying to get to something, which I'm going to get to, which is how I frame like my dating. I'm not dating. I have my forever guy. It's important to me to be well loved. It's important to me to be cherished. It's important for me to have the freedom to experience and travel and eat good food, to have fun, to be able to relax. Like, those things are important to me, right? You might be thinking Abraham Hicks if you're familiar with her content. The feeling of it is much more important to me than what it looks like, than the package it comes in. So I'm 5'5". I've dated men my height. Like, I'm not sure height is that important. I've dated really tall men. Health is very important to me. So I'm not going to date somebody who's obese. But I'm going to say it's really important to me that I'm with someone who values their health. Someone that values honesty. Someone who is hardworking, right? Is a hardworking man going to be poor? Maybe for a season, but not for life. And so getting to like the values, informing my standards and my expectations leads to the man of my dreams, right? Who has then surpassed what number I could have put on how much money he has to make. I think it's much more important to think of the lifestyle and the feeling of it versus, you know, I have to be able to go on 2 luxury vacations every year, or I only fly first class. Like, I don't think those small box things are helpful when it comes to dating. I think it's much more helpful if we look at a man as a person, if you view yourself as somebody who's also in progress, who doesn't have it all figured out, that you give people a chance, and that you don't have these rigid requirements. I understand her not wanting to date. I'm not saying it's wrong. A man with kids. I get it. With her history, I also get it, right? That this would be a thing that she's kind of hyper fixated on as something that she doesn't want. Rebecca Lynn Pope, I tell you, I love her, also said, I'm not dating a pastor. I don't want to be with a pastor, right? Because she has her own preconceived notions of what a pastor is. Who's she with? A pastor. Her divine love was a pastor. I wouldn't be surprised if God has, listen, she's a Christian. I don't know if she's Christian, but she quoted scripture throughout the interview, and also put kind of in his place about him thinking he could, mold and change a woman. Like, I understand what he was saying, but his wording was definitely icky and controlling. So I wouldn't be surprised if the man that God has for Dr. Cheyenne has a kid. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Does my man have a kid? No. But if he did, I would still want him. I promise you. I promise you. If he didn't have a degree, I promise you I would still want him. I'm sure whatever lifestyle he has now, he could have gotten without a degree. He would have found a way. But that speaks to like the heart or the energy of the person versus the I don't know, the things that goes on the resumes or the things that when you're describing it to another person is like, oh, well, he drives this car and he lives in this neighborhood. I don't care about those things, because you can be with a high value person, exactly like she said, and they're low functioning. I don't think all men who create broken homes are low functioning. Maybe at that point in time they were, but just because they did it, I mean, I got pregnant when I was 17. I'm a very high value, high functioning woman. And it's fine with me when men say they don't want to date a woman with kids. That's fine with me. You also miss out on all of this greatness, which is fine. It means I wasn't aligned for you, and that's perfectly fine. But I just don't think that's a helpful way to date, in my opinion.